She stepped onto the court with no sponsor, no fancy coach, and no headlines waiting to be written about her. Just a worn-out racket, a quiet confidence, and a heart full of fire. No one gave her a second glance. She didn't look like she belonged, not on Europe's richest tennis court, surrounded by elite players, flashing cameras, and a crowd used to greatness. In their eyes, she was just a simple woman with no real chance. Some even laughed, whispering she'd be lucky to win a single point. Her opponent, a top-ranked pro, polished and powerful, already being called the future of the sport. People came expecting an easy match, maybe even a quick humiliation. It wasn't just about tennis, it was about image, status, and reputation. And in a place where money, fame, and skill usually decide who matters, she was treated like a nobody. But that's the thing about nobodies. They don't follow the script. From the very first serve, something felt different. She wasn't rattled by the crowd or the speed. Her movements were calm, sharp, and every shot told a story. A story of struggle, of being overlooked, of fighting for every inch she ever earned. With each passing point, the gasps grew louder, the laughter faded, and the whispers turned into stunned silence. No one expected her to hold her own, let alone dominate. By the end of the first set, the scoreboard read 6-0. The crowd was in disbelief. What they had just witnessed wasn't a fluke. It was a message. But who was she, really? And what gave her the strength to stand tall where others crumbled? The full story of her rise, and the storm that followed, was just getting started. Her name was Alina. No flashy last name, no famous coach standing courtside. Just Alina from a small village no one could place on a map. She didn't come from money or tennis academies. She learned the game hitting against a brick wall behind her grandmother's house, barefoot with a second-hand racket passed down by a cousin. While other kids were traveling for junior tournaments, Alina was helping her mother clean houses, saving every coin just to buy new strings or a pair of shoes that would last another season. Years of quiet work shaped her, training early mornings, playing local matches where the only reward was respect. But she had something no one could measure with rankings or stats: grit. Every setback, every rejection from tournament entries, every time a coach told her she wasn't the right fit, she kept going. Tennis was more than a sport for her. It was survival. It was the one place she could fight back. Now, standing across from a player who trained at elite facilities, who had traveled the world, and played in front of roaring stadiums, Alina didn't shrink. She didn't come this far just to be polite. Her forehand was sharp, her footwork relentless, and with every winner she hit, the air on that prestigious court grew heavier. Still, questions swirled. Who invited her? How did she even qualify? Whispers spread fast. Was she a one-match wonder, a lucky draw, or was something bigger brewing under the surface? The pro across the net wasn't just losing points, she was unraveling. Sponsors looked uneasy. Coaches barked advice that no longer worked. Alina didn't smile, didn't celebrate. She just played. And as the second set began, with the world finally watching her, one thing became clear. This match was far from over. Behind the polished glass of the commentator booth, voices were unsure. They had no stats on Alina, no junior Grand Slam appearances, no academy connections, no ITF titles to speak of. One analyst quietly checked her name against the entry list again, wondering if there had been a mistake. On paper, she wasn't supposed to be here. And yet, she wasn't just playing well. She was dismantling a player the tennis world had invested in for years. The cameras, which had barely focused on her during warm-up, were now locked onto every move she made. Down on the court, her opponent, ranked inside the top 30, was clearly shaken. She kept glancing at her team, her frustration growing with every miss. What started as overconfidence turned into desperation. Her coach leaned forward, giving sharp signals, but nothing worked. The timing was off, the rhythm broken. The pro wasn't used to being pushed like this by an unseeded qualifier. She was used to control. Alina had taken that away point by point. In the stands, a few keen spectators began to cheer for the underdog. Not loudly, yet, but enough to shift the atmosphere. This wasn't just about tennis anymore. It was about pride, image, and proving who really belonged. Whispers circled about Alina's mysterious entry. Some said she got a last-minute wild card. Others claimed she won a hidden regional qualifier no one paid attention to. No one could say for sure. Even the tournament director was now getting questions from media and sponsors. How had they missed this storyline? And somewhere, beyond the lights and luxury, a quiet figure watched from the shadows. Someone from Alina's past. Someone who had once told her she'd never make it. As the second set grew tighter, so did the silence between points. Everyone was waiting. Something big was coming. The scoreboard showed 5-0 in Alina's favor, and the crowd was holding its breath. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every serve, every rally seemed to carry the weight of something much bigger than a tennis match. The pro player was fighting back fiercely now, desperate to keep her reputation intact, throwing everything she had into her shots. But Alina stayed calm, focused, like a quiet storm that could not be shaken. Backstage, whispers turned to murmurs of disbelief. Journalists scrambled to dig up anything on Alina, hoping to explain this impossible story. Social media buzzed with clips of her dominant play. Videos titled, "The Unknown Woman Who Stunned Europe's Richest Court," and Underdog's 6-0 triumph. Yet no one really knew her. What was fueling her strength? What was this fire they hadn't seen before? On the court, the pro's frustration grew. She stomped her feet, slammed her racket, but Alina never blinked. Each point she won seemed to pull a thread in the pro's confidence, unraveling years of careful preparation and privilege. It was as if Alina was not just playing for a win, but for every time she had been dismissed, overlooked, and told she didn't belong. In the stands, a mix of awe and tension rippled through the audience. Some held their breath, others whispered, "Is this real? Can she actually do it?" The tournament officials exchanged worried glances. Sponsors shifted uncomfortably. For everyone watching, the question was the same. What happens if she finishes this match? As Alina bounced the ball, ready to serve for the match, a hush fell over the court. The moment had come. Would she claim the victory that shocked the world, or would something unexpected change everything? The story wasn't over. Not yet. Just as Alina prepared to serve for the match, an unexpected announcement rippled through the arena. A sudden delay, something about a dispute near the locker rooms. The crowd shifted uneasily, eyes darting toward the entrance. Whispers spread fast, rumors of a protest, maybe even a security issue. For a moment, the match was forgotten. Alina lowered her racket, confusion flickering across her face. The pro opponent, sensing the shift, wiped sweat from her brow and exchanged quick words with officials. Something wasn't right. Behind the scenes, tension was mounting. It turned out the controversy wasn't about the match itself, it was about Alina. A claim had been made challenging her eligibility, questioning the validity of her entry into Europe's richest tournament. Documents, rules, and regulations were suddenly being examined under a microscope. Was she really qualified to be there? Had someone pulled strings, or was there more to her story that no one knew? The players were called off the court while officials scrambled. Social media exploded with speculation. Fans of the underdog started defending her fiercely, while others wondered if she was a fraud or a lucky wild card gone too far. The spotlight shifted from the court to the controversy swirling around Alina. Back on the court, Alina sat quietly, her hands clenched, heart pounding. This wasn't part of the plan. Not after the fight she had put in. The pro opponent watched her carefully, eyes filled with a mixture of disbelief and opportunity. The stakes had suddenly grown beyond the tennis match. It was no longer just about points or trophies. It was about truth, reputation, and something far more personal. The world waited. Would Alina's dream survive this storm, or crumble before the final serve? The tension in the arena was unbearable as officials finally returned to the court, holding a stack of papers and an air of authority. The crowd hushed, waiting for the verdict that could change everything. After what felt like an eternity, the lead official stepped forward and cleared his throat. The dispute over Alina's eligibility had been thoroughly reviewed, and in a stunning turn, every document had been verified as authentic. Alina was not just a wild card or a lucky entrant. She had earned her spot fair and square through a hidden qualifying tournament, one that few knew existed. Relief and cheers erupted from the crowd, and Alina rose slowly, eyes steady and voice calm as she prepared to serve again. The pro player, now visibly shaken, nodded in respect. The match resumed. With every shot, Alina poured all her energy into the game. The final points were a battle of wills, with the pro fighting hard to regain control, but Alina's focus was unbreakable. When the final ball landed just inside the line, sealing her 6-0, 6-2 victory, the arena exploded in applause. She had done the unthinkable, toppled a tennis star on the richest court in Europe, against all odds. But just as Alina raised her arms in triumph, a sudden voice crackled over the loudspeakers. Another official, face grim, announced a new development. An anonymous tip had revealed a possible match-fixing attempt linked to the qualifying tournament Alina had entered. The crowd fell silent once more, eyes darting between Alina and the officials. The victory that seemed complete now felt fragile. Was Alina's story one of pure talent and determination, or was there a deeper, darker secret lurking beneath the surface? The answer was still out there, waiting to be uncovered. The sudden announcement sent ripples through the crowd, but Alina stayed composed. The investigation into the qualifying tournament was swift, thorough, and transparent. Officials reviewed footage, interviewed players, and examined every detail. In the end, the claims of match-fixing were proven false. The anonymous tip was just that, a baseless accusation meant to shake the confidence of a rising star. With her name cleared, Alina's victory stood strong. She had fought hard not just against an opponent on the court, but against doubt, judgment, and obstacles far bigger than a tennis match. Her story became more than a surprise win. It became a symbol of determination and resilience. Alina didn't just win a trophy that day, she won respect. She showed the world that talent and heart can shine through, no matter where you come from or what people expect of you. Her journey from a small village, through years of struggle and hard work, to stunning a world-class opponent on Europe's richest court, was proof that dreams are worth fighting for. The pro player, humbled by the match and the drama surrounding it, later spoke about Alina with admiration, calling her one of the toughest competitors I've ever faced. Sponsors and fans began to see Alina as more than an underdog. She became a true contender. As the story settled into headlines and conversations, one thing was clear: this was only the beginning. Alina's name would be remembered not just for her unexpected 6-0 victory, but for the courage she showed in every challenge she faced. And for anyone watching, her story was a reminder. Sometimes the quietest voices make the loudest impact.